In 2025, AI is no longer optional. It is the competitive edge. But not every business owner or individual is at the same starting point. Whether you're an AI forward-thinking company or you're just getting started and you're more on the AI curious side, I'll be breaking down the 4 key personas that we've seen in the marketplace and how each and every single one of them can take advantage of the AI opportunity. I'm going to breeze through a description of each avatar fairly quickly and then walk through the key pain points or constraints that we see for a person in that specific avatar and what might be stopping them from getting to the next level of harnessing the true power of generative AI in their business. All right, so if we jump into the nice old whiteboard here, I've already drafted out the 4 key personas just so you don't have to watch me manually write it. So we've come up with 4 labels for these avatars. We have the AI first companies and organizations where they figured out all the data components. They've been using generative AI almost from the start, and they're just looking to step up to the next level and take advantage of the new offerings that have become more mature and available in the last few months. So think of things like text to voice agents, where they were mediocre 9 to 12 months ago, but now they're actually viable enough to start really integrating into call centers and businesses. Next, we have the AI-enabled cohort, where they've managed to figure out the data components, they've already messed around with some generative AI, maybe they've implemented ChatGPT or Claude at scale in the organization, and have been keeping abreast as to what's happening. Next, you have the AI-curious individuals or organizations, where perhaps they haven't integrated generative AI or any type of AI up until this point, and right now they have some concerns as to whether or not they can actually participate in the game before, quote unquote, it's too late. And lastly, we have the AI aspiring cohort, where this is usually individuals or very small businesses that have heard of ChatGPT, that have heard that they should probably consider using AI, but it seems so far removed from where their business is that it seems almost impractical to even approach. Although all these avatars are on different parts of the spectrum, all of them have some form of constraint or constraints that's stopping them from getting them to the next level. So for the AI first gang, their primary constraints we see over and over again in consultations are talent and scaling their actual generative AI solutions. So on the talent side, typically they have an actual in-house development team and even a development team that's upskilled themselves to use generative AI properly. So they figured out how to actually systematize it, productionize it, and actually distribute it to its organization. When it comes to taking advantage of the latest and greatest modalities, frameworks, or models, they don't necessarily want to distract their in-house teams with more and more distractions, taking away from momentum on actually pushing forward any initiatives they've already created. And on that note, when it comes to scaling, perhaps they've implemented some form of internal AI tools, maybe they've used Notion AI, maybe they've integrated ChatGPT across the organization, perhaps they've even built an internal local web application powered by open source models. While a lot of things have been built, it's more so about how do you truly scale your solution and make sure it's nimble as possible. So typically the solutions for these constraints on the talent side is it's awesome and it's almost essential to have an in-house team that is committed to lifelong learning and keeping abreast as much as possible to what's relevant. But you have 2 options that can really help step this up to the next level. One possible solution is to designate someone in your organization or outsource someone outside of your organization to be your generative AI steward. So you basically mention, these are all the things that might move the needle or might be hyper impactful to our business. You stay abreast on this and you experiment with things as they come out. So you now have designated distraction department. Now, sometimes it's ideal to outsource this again to a consultant, an agency such as mine, but when it comes to actually keeping that in-house talent focused on the future, it's important to keep them focused on your core roadmap. Because you will inevitably, especially in 2025 to 2027, you're going to see an exponential curve like you've never seen before. Despite all the claims that AI is slowing down, it's basically slowing down in comparison to maybe last month, but not 2, 3, 5 years ago. So if you know the industry is going to be moving at breakneck speed, it might make sense to offload some of that attention on those shinier things to other entities in the organization. And when it comes to deciding that you actually want to implement one of these shiny new things that have come on the market, it might make sense that you have embedded resources where you don't have a one and done engagement with an agency or a vendor or a consultant, because you do need that specific project to keep being improved iteratively. Perhaps you, instead of hire a freelancer or an agency, you hire embedded resources from an agency that can actually live in your business but still work for that agency, but they're fully immersed and embedded in your business and are responsible for pushing this entire project or initiative forward. Now, when we get to the AI-enabled folks, their biggest obstacles are prioritization in general and the existential question of build versus buy. On the prioritization section, because now they're fully AI enabled, they can now look at communication automation. They can look at outreach automation. They can look at marketing automation and whatever is specific to their industry. But with brand new horizons and optionality, inevitably comes the need to prioritize, which is again why in one of my former videos on how to succeed in 2025 with an AI roadmap, we spoke about what's called our BITE framework, which is pretty much a way to prioritize which projects to look at first and which are more critical for your business. And if you don't remember what BITE stands for, it stands for business criticality, B, impact potential, I, time to value, T, and finally, ease of implementation, E. When you assess those four things, typically you get a pretty good idea as to what initiative should come first. So implementing this or some version of a prioritization framework where you can gauge your confidence on how truly impactful and ROI rich a certain move will be super helpful to alleviate all the analysis paralysis that comes with all the optionality. On the build versus buy, this is somewhat derivative of the talent question from the AI first cohort, but this also comes down to tools. Is it worth us even investing the time and talent or resources to actually build said tool? Or should we go on the market and see if someone else has figured out how to build this generative AI tool? Now, when it comes to this decision, there are probably two main factors that you want to consider. One is, are there any data concerns? Are you dealing with user data that is hypersensitive that you don't even want to take a 0.01% risk that it ends up on another server? If that is the case and you work in a hypersensitive business, then you want to aspire to build as many tools internally as possible and minimizing the number of tools you're actually purchasing on third party. And the second parameter is obviously IP. So if you're just starting out as a startup or you're a mid-tier startup and you're trying to accumulate some enterprise value, it might be in your best interest that you build things internally so you can add that IP as a part of your moat, assuming that, again, it's on the bleeding edge or cutting edge. If it's just about generating some Notion documents, then using Notion AI is probably a lot smarter than just creating your own AI framework from scratch. Moving on now to the AI curious. So again, these are possibly individuals or organizations that aren't necessarily in the right place to fully take advantage of the AI opportunity because their data might not be where it should be. And in general, they have overwhelm as it is, just keeping either their business afloat or keeping up with surging demand in their specific industry. Now, what happens here is perhaps there is an area of the business where the data is working, right? So maybe you take a small investment and you gauge whether or not generative AI is right for your business. Now, big picture, generative AI should be right for the majority of businesses. There's all kinds of ways to implement it, but there are very, very few businesses I can think of that can't benefit from it. Now, the AI curious, and I would argue obviously the AI aspiring, both have in common a data problem. So both of them share this problem. Now, it's at different severities. So AI curious organizations typically have a CRM, a customer relationship management system, or they have an ERP system where data lives. There's some transactions that live there. They might not be in the right places. It might not be super clean or hygienic, but it's there. With AI aspiring, we might still be living in basic Google Sheets that are unorganized, untitled, things are all over the place. There are things that live on email, things on paper, where it's truly very far removed from being able to truly focus on generative AI because the number one priority of the business is that you have a data problem. Now, I know I'm overlapping both of these categories here, but just because this issue is shared, and in my opinion, is the issue that stops both cohorts from moving up to the next level, the most important thing for these businesses is not really tinkering with generative AI yet. It's dedicating 1, 3, 6 months to fully standardizing and structuring their data. So although they might have been looking for a generative AI expert or a generative AI consultant, in my opinion, they should be going back to foundation and looking for a data analyst, a data engineer, an analytics engineer, to truly make sense of all the data, make sure they're using the right systems, making sure they're using the right systems to begin with to set them up for success in the future. It doesn't really matter if you implement a shiny automation or a cool voice agent in your business if the rest of your business is fully disconnected from the possible ROI you could derive from even initiating that project. Now, just to differentiate between both categories, on the AI curious side, one other concern or constraint becomes overwhelm, where there's so many things going on, such as trying to scale the business, trying to scale talent in general, trying to just keep up with the market and all its ebbs and flows, that worrying about AI and not using AI and the stress and anxiety of not using it becomes overwhelming. I'll still argue that despite the FOMO and the need or anxiety of wanting to participate and use this magical stuff, that if the data is figured out and if the core business issues are overcome and you know you're using a good system that everyone understands how to use and input information into, you have different systems that are finally speaking to each other properly, this is far more important than using generative AI now. This stuff will just keep getting better and better, and it'll also keep getting easier and easier for individuals to use and take advantage of. So even if you're off the market for 3 to 5 months to figure out this data piece, in 3 to 5 months, it'll probably be exponentially easier for any business owner to now pick up where everyone left off. And just to finish off on the AI aspiring cohort, I wrote the word infra here, which stands for infrastructure. This is one component in addition to data that is hand in hand. So AI aspiring individuals, entrepreneurs, or very small businesses might be operating on bare bones systems such as, again, Google Sheets or notepads or shared documents or Google Docs. It's not necessarily about ditching those softwares, but more so either using them in a very standardized way so that your data is as compact and clean as possible, or you just level up to a low to mid-tier CRM system or system in general where you can start to have systems that have backends where you can be eligible in the future to hook that up to something like a Zapier, a Make.com, an N8N to start really taking advantage of small to basic workflows to start alleviating a lot of the admin tasks. So infrastructure and data are probably like the lowest portions of the pyramid, the Maslow pyramid of using generative AI, and investing in infrastructure and data is exponentially more important than being distracted with the brand new Llama 4 or Claude 4 or GPT-5 that comes out. Because although they're useful, they're cool, it's not going to be as useful for you if you don't have the core components of the business figured out so that you can even take advantage of applying these crazy technologies to your business. And shameless plug, by the way, if you are a business owner or a senior business leader that is looking to implement generative AI in their business and you're very serious about it, we have our community launching in the next couple of weeks called Early Adopters. And if you're interested in joining the waitlist, you can go down in the description below and apply, and we'll be super excited to hopefully see you in a few weeks. For everyone else, I hope this video was helpful, and let me know in the comments down below what else you'd like me to discuss related to AI implementation in businesses to help set you up for success as soon as possible. I'll see you in the next video.